senior staff scientists, and who now are outspoken, independent scientific voices out there, can again have a say in how EPA functions.
I worked at EPA for 32 years. Beginning in 1970, when EPA was created, EPA was a good agency, had good intentions, good scientists. That changed in 1993. There was a mass exodus of EPA scientists at that time. So the scientists that remain at EPA today is a different culture than when EPA was created. I am speaking out because science was everything to me, and science is all about the truth. My life was dedicated to it. Once science at EPA was no longer about the truth, but it was about supporting certain industry practices and certain government policies, I wanted no part of it. But rather than walking out the door like many of EPA's scientists did when that happened, I decided to stay in. I filed a series of whistleblower lawsuits to get discovery documents. I wanted to understand how this happened, and I felt like I could do more for science to tell this story than I could in a laboratory producing data that would never see the light of day anyway. In the federal government, when data are fabricated, they can get away with anything in the way of fraud, covering up adverse health effects, faking data. The individual at EPA who came up with EPA sludge policies, Henry Longest, in the mid-1970s, and was still protecting biosolids with fake data when I left EPA in 2003. He received multiple presidential awards in the Rose Garden by President Bush, even though it was known all of the fraudulent activities he was involved with. They are immune to prosecution, but let any scientist try faking data for his own personal gain, they don't last any time. They will be fired and put in prison. But fake data for the government in its interest, in the industry's interest, and you will be promoted and protected at the highest levels.
One of the very confusing aspects of this whole business of land-disposed toxic sewage sludge is based on the question, how can this be legal? If it is known to be so toxic, it is known to be the inciting agent of so many chronic and acute diseases, infectious diseases, cancer, neurological disorders, well, it has to do with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Years ago, they conferred the decisions on regulation and use of sewage sludge to the states. And the state departments of ecology or the state departments of environmental quality then had the right and the freedom to relax the regulations and adopt some EPA standards for concentrations of toxic, or to apply their own regulations. State agencies tend to be cooperative, so the State Department of Ecology in Washington State, as one example, collaborates very nicely with the State Department of Agriculture. And state departments of agriculture like to help farmers, and one way they help them is to figure strategy for reducing costs of farming, including the costs of fertilizers. Counties, on the other hand, and municipalities have an enormous burden of what to do with all the sewage sludge. Nearly every municipality has a wastewater treatment plant. All of the sewage sludge is toxic. Wastewater treatment plants, as I say, do not treat wastewater. They separate it into the solids and the water with the intent of recycling the water and beneficially recycling the solids. The problem